this is lesson 3, lighting and photography.
Wait, David, am I on the right one?
We will, yes and no. So this is our main one. You guys have access to this one. Obviously, there's no one new here, which is fine. So before we get into that, I do want to talk about this slideshow that I've shared with you. This slideshow is here for you guys every week. After you guys have gone into the wild, you're taking photos, you're actually, yes.
There's a weird pop-up on my computer and it says start recording for you easy steps.
Don't listen to it.
Okay.
Probably try to X out of it. So this is for you to share your work to see that you guys are doing what you need to do outside the classroom. So how this will work, so like I'll have the lesson here as this framing composition, so you know after this slide, all these slides that have been assigned to all you guys, thank you, will be just referring to this lesson. So like here we have Kitten Jeets, Isabella's, blah blah blah. So how do we get our photos from our camera to the slideshow? I want you guys to search in your camera bags and look for this USB card reader. Let me use this one. Well, we haven't assigned you a camera yet, so we're actually going to do that at the end. And so you won't have to, you don't have to put any photos for this week. Okay, so I want you guys to take it out of the packaging. Giving you guys a hard time? Yeah. Okay. So once you have it, I want you to get your camera. Everyone got their camera here? Alright, I'm gonna wait till everybody has it out of the packaging. Raise your hand when you got it out of the packaging. 1, 2, 3. Let me see. Just be careful not to cut into the card reader. So, now that we all have our cameras with you and we have the card reader out of the packaging, I want you to flip your cameras over. You remember the battery bay slot? You're going to click it so you can have it open. Okay. So now, we know where the battery is, but on the side here, we have our SD card. I want you to press it so it comes out like that. And then hold it up when you guys got it, okay? That's the battery. You want the SD card. Yours might be slightly different. It shouldn't. It should be still by it. But depending on the model, some other places where it can be is on the side here. Usually it's on the side. That's where I've seen it. But in other older camera models, it's usually with the battery. There you go. You got it. So now, close your bay. You can put your camera away. And put your SD by your laptop. Alrighty. So now we're going to go back to that USB card reader. Everybody grab it, hold it up. Now you're going to, yeah, that one. Now you're going to take off the lid. It should have a lid. It should have a USB-A. I want you to plug it into your Chromebook. You may need to, don't try to force it in if it doesn't feel like it's going in. You may need to rotate it around. There you go. You got it. Awesome.
And let me guess, we have to put the USB.
Yeah, you want to put that in.
1 in, 2.23. So do that home. That's a video. This is small. 1.8, so that would be about 2 videos.
So, you see this white part here? And you see how this one, there's like a gray part?
Yeah.
Well, the white part to be on the bottom, so we're just going to go like that. It could be a little bit stubborn. So everyone's plugged it in. So, when it comes to, yes, that's what I'm going to show you right now. Actually, let me use yours right now. So, you can either put it in before or after. It doesn't necessarily matter. So, There seems to be two types of card readers in this one. You're going to want to put your card on the top one. Depending on what side, the orientation might be different. So if it's on your left side of your Chromebook, then it's on the top. If you plugged it into a port on the right side, it may be at the bottom. So you can plug it in just like that.
Which way does it? Like this or that way?
Let me see the orientation of yours. So you're gonna want to place it for the orientation of your SD card. You want to put it flat so you can see the logo, and then you just want to put it in. Here, I'll let you do that. And you want to push it in. I'll try to force it. And you got it.
Yes.
There you go. Everybody got it? Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Can I see yours?
Sure.
So, think of this as like you're putting a hard drive into your computer. So look at your Chromebook. On the left side, you're going to see the little circle icon. Actually, no, we don't even need to do that. Okay, so this is KNG's slideshow. Should be open to this page. I want you guys to go and press Insert. Then we're gonna hold our cursor over Image.
Do you remember shiny side up or shiny side down?
Down.
Good job.
And then we're gonna press Upload from Computer. Now, this is everybody at this stage here? Yep. So, at this stage here, you should see a little
Okay.
subsection that says Camera. You want to click on that.
Oh, I didn't push.
So you click on it, it should be into a sub file. Then you want to press DCIM.
Plug it in. Open it up.
You know, you go into another sub file. There's a lot of sub files in
Top
these.
right hand corner.
So then we're going to see our camera. It's going to say 100 Canon. For yours, it might be a little bit different. We're going to click on that.
It's not even plugged in yet.
And now we see our images. Okay? You may have more, you may have less. You can either individually select one and then press open and repeat the process every time. Or you can select them both by selecting the first one. Johnny, you good?
Very good, very good.
Select the first one, then you go to your last one in the row.
Maybe the backpack.
You're gonna hold Control, and then you're gonna left click on the mouse pad here. Alrighty.
That's okay.
Then you can press open. I'll let you do that.
No one fell, no one. We're all good over here.
But make sure that when you guys open it, you guys are on your own slideshow.
Plug this in the backpack.
Who took a picture of my little sister?
That's your camera, man.
I think someone stole it from you.
Alrighty. Nice.
Doesn't have
Files, downloads.
Can you take any photos?
We do that and then
I have a green salsa and a red one.
Let's try on a different port. It might be a faulty card reader. Okay, open files. Actually, so now try it.
David,
Yes.
this isn't working either.
Let me see. Yeah, I'm seeing something. I don't know if it is the computer or. Okay.
I see mine.
You see yours now? Okay, so it's probably either the computer or it is. So we're gonna actually take this out here. I'm gonna show put in the other side.
I don't have
Oh shoot. You only have one?
Mhm.
Okay. Don't. Let me quickly run and get you an extra one. And then you can sign in there. So yeah, if it doesn't go through immediately, it could be because of the Chromebook, whatever port you're plugging it on. It could be a faulty card reader. So I'll be back in 1 second.
I'll show you my little project.
assuming we're just doing this as a test.
Yeah. My brother.
Are you using? Huh? Are you using? Okay. We're doing this thing. We're gonna have shirts, and it's gonna have all the class students that are graduating this year.
I have no idea.
Oh, because they just like.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Well, it's been brought up with Rose, but then she disappeared. So now it's brought up again. So we're having that. We have to have all.
Okay, I have a question. You're in leadership, right? Or you're joining leadership?
I'm in leadership.
Okay, good. Okay, so I have a question. Since December when they were going to do
Alright. So,
cooking contest, you know how they did something
just
here,
wait for
okay.
this.
We had her.
Yeah, this one has multiple parts, so you can
you,
just sign in and
Lynette,
turn this way.
Alessandra, and you,
Okay.
Joe, and then a few
If you haven't already, select 2 to 3 photos to upload on your slideshow. So,
Are you okay? Sound out of breath.
you guys heard that?
Did you just ran?
Yes, I did run.
What are you,
And it's
Flash?
Push?
The
Well,
Flash?
Flash is pretty fast.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog.
The Flash?
Not too.
I looked it up on Google and it says the Flash is faster. Literally is.
He's the fastest man alive.
Did you give her a dead one?
It turned off.
Did it turn?
It died.
Okay. For the sake of time, it's a, oh. We're having some Chromebook issues, I'm sorry guys, and we just ran out of new Chromebooks. We're waiting for an order to come in.
You said 3, right?
Yes, 3, 2 to 3. It might be a little bit hard, depending on how big what do you call it? How big the photos are, and you can always, have you guys ever used Google Present? Google
Yes.
Slideshows? Yes,
I use
yes. Yes, yes, okay, good. Yeah, so you should know how to do that.
I did presentations when I was in like 4th or 3rd grade.
Okay. So while you guys are doing that, I'm gonna start the actual lecture. So question, what do you think constitutes a well-lit photo? Anybody? Leslie? You don't know? Zoe? What constitutes a well-lit photo?
A proper amount of sunlight.
Correct. What else? So a properly lit photo, like in the rest of photography, is very subjective. But usually, we should see a lot of things without the image looking, let's just say, edited to the point of it looked like we tried to add light in post. You know, you always want to expose for your conditions in the camera, because while editing in post is great, and I do it all the time, it is not ideal. Some things cannot be fixed in post. So why lighting matters? The definition of lighting. Lighting refers to the way light illuminates a subject in a photograph. It affects the mood, texture, depth, and overall quality of an image. Light is from the foundation of photography, as the word itself means drawing with light. So, here are some types of light. Balance, and in particular we're going to be talking about balancing elements. So here are some different types of lights in photography. So you have natural lighting. The most common example of this type of lighting is sunlight, and ambient natural light. An example, windows, like Miss Lozano's window all the way over there. Within natural light, you also have subsections like golden hour, blue hour, overcast, and moonlight.
What does blue hour mean?
We're going to talk about that actually. So question, can you please identify which photos use which type of natural lighting and explain how you can
I think the city photo uses blue hour.
correct? What about, I think that question came a little too early. Yeah. Let's hold off on the question, but that was right. Okay, so when and how to time this lighting. When it comes to natural lighting, here is when you can take advantage of these sources. So golden hour, anytime during sunrise and sunset, and blue hour, the time right before the sunrise and the sunrise and this right before the sunset, or before complete darkness. So Serena said the city.
No,
which
my name is Serena.
Serena, sorry. The city. What about golden hour?
I think it's the boat.
The boat. That's correct, Kenji. Then you also have overcast. Anytime during cloudy days, the denser, the better.
Like that great photo with the bridge.
Exactly. Good job. The reason why cloudy days are a photographer's best friend is, and we're going to talk about lighting and how to soften light, but think of it as like a really big, soft light source that's up in the sky. Because it's so big, all the sun's light's being filtered through it, and thus you get softer light. And then finally, moonlight. Typically at night, the fuller the moon, the better. I don't know, this kind of looks a little bit AI generated, but I decided to put it in a little bit just because that's unrealistic, but you can use moonlight as a source. Personally, I have not used it, but I've seen other photographers use it. So, and we're actually, it's not just natural light, we're going to talk about a bunch of other sources that you can use. Here are the different types of light in terms of artificial lighting. So when natural light isn't enough, photographers may want to add light to their scene by using artificial lighting. This additional lighting can be generated through the use of devices as complex as LEDs.
Yes.
And
Like lamps.
Yes, good job. Actually, depends on which lamp you're talking about. But I want to guess what an LED stands for. It's an acronym. Anybody know? Kenji?
I think the L stands for light.
Correct.
Don't know what the ever stand for.
What does the E stand for? Nobody? It stands for light emitting diode. I'm not going to get really in depth of it, but think of it. See this little thing right here? This is the LED chip. It's a little bit small, but you see that little yellow part right there? That's the actual LED chip, which emits light. Now LEDs are far more efficient than what we used to use, which was actual light bulbs. One of the good advantages of LEDs is that they don't overheat as much, they are way brighter, and they consume less power. Anyway, strobes, aka flashes, to even the simplest sources like lamps or flashlights. So, question, can you please describe the difference made in the following image when using and not using a strobe? Now for context, this is on-camera strobe / flash. A lot of people know them as flashes. In the business, we call them strobes. This would usually sit on your camera, and depending if you have like additional accessory like this thing, this little guy right here, you can actually put that on your camera and put this off your camera, and you can move it around. So we're gonna take a look at these two photos. Now you guys, I want you to tell me, this is before and this is after using this strobe. Before and after. What's the difference we can see?
The before photos are more darker, and the after photos are more lighter.
Yes, that's correct. Anybody else? Zoe?
In the first photos, we can see shadows, and in the second photos, we don't.
True. What about the angle of the light?
If you, I don't know what this. If you angle the light at different, if you put the light at a different angle, you can get like, I don't know, different results.
Yes, that's true. Mia, Zoe, Leslie, Isabella. We can do this all day. Just need one of you guys.
I would say you get better lighting with the angles.
True. Now, a lot of you guys brought up angles, and that's good. If we take a look here. I don't want to use that. Let's use this example here. So we know, so this is the natural one, and this one's using the strobe. We know the light's coming from the back. They decided to backlight their subject. We're going to talk about that later. But thinking, so if the sun's over here, how the heck is the light supposed to come and hit her face? You know? Because of the direction of the light and how her hair, That's why you're getting these shadows here. And not just shadows, but the overall underexposure of the skin. So
if you put a light near the like not to your butt in front of a lady's face, you cannot get shadows.
that's correct. Good job. So here they probably put it looking at the shadow here. So with the portraits you can kind of see where the shadow is, and you can kind of triangulate where that light's coming from. This is called loop lighting. This is more advanced kind of lighting. We'll talk about that in another lesson. But they probably had their flash over here. And they shot it like this, and they didn't want really too much shadow, so they have angled it so you will minimize that shadow. Now over here, I actually don't think this is natural light. And the reason why I say it's not natural light
is because she's inside a room.
well, there's light in rooms, but looking at the angle of the shadow here, this is what we call frontal lighting. So back to the strobe here, you put your strobe on your camera, you would tilt it down, and it would fire directly at your subject. When you do that, you kind of get this paparazzi look, you know, when you see this shadow in the background, which is why I don't think they had natural light in this one. I think they actually shot it frontal. So that's how you can see, because if it was at an angle, this shadow would be lower down. So, if they use shadows, not shadows, strobes on both of these, what was the difference made then?
I think there was light behind, like kind of a little like bright. I mean, there would be like lights, artificial.
I think I get what you're saying. They're like, they changed the angle of the lighting maybe?
Yeah.
So, that's correct. What they did here is they probably turned around the strobe on the back of their camera. They aimed it at the ceiling, and when they shoot the light actually bounces. And we're going to talk about why they did that in a couple of slides. But one of the immediate effects that you can see right here is the shadow is gone because the whole room is being filled with the artificial light. How are we doing with uploading our photos to what do you call it? Let me see.
Mine's still not working.
It's not? Okay. We'll have to figure that out at the end of the lesson. Okay. Kaylee's not here. Leslie. Okay. So we're going to take a quick second and we're going to talk about your guys' photos. So, it's okay. I know this is scary. But in photography, hey, my face is in there, man. In photography, one of the scariest things is
like
showing.
An orange.
Thank you. In photography, one of the scariest things is exposing your work. But you need to do that because while you can have your own biases, there may be people that have more experience that can offer you some advice as well. So, Kenji, using it's okay, Kenji, it's okay. You thinking about the things that we learned last lesson, what did you use from last lesson in this photo when you took it?
Well, my dad took the photo, not me.
Okay, that's fine.
I took this one. You.
Okay, what lessons did you learn? That was from framing basics. What lessons? What concepts did you use in that photo?
Framing, like.
Continue.
To make it look like, not like, messed up.
Okay. One thing I can definitely say that you did is if I were to draw my rule of thirds, everybody remember the rule of thirds from last time? I can see, while my head might be a little bit short here, which is fine, I can see I'm kind of in the center here. So you were able to put me in the center, which is good. Isabella, you chose this photo. What did you use from last lesson in this photo?
Well, this picture I took it like the first week or like the second week when we
Okay.
first got the camera, so it wasn't like in the full lessons yet. So
Okay. Is there anything now that you know about the last two lessons that you see being applied that maybe you didn't realize from at first?
maybe it's like kind of centered.
I would say yeah, it's centered.
It's
One
also
thing,
light.
yes, the light. Thank you for pointing that out. One way to get cinematic shots is actually by shooting. This is not from photography. This is actually from cinematography. But because the traits are so similar, they kind of cross into each other. Shooting on the shadow side. The reason why we shoot on the shadow side is to create depth. So, if we're looking here, we got our light here, and then we got our shadow here. And also, one thing that we just talked about is using light from windows. And that's what you did here, even though you might not realize it. So good job. Zoe? Wait, yeah. Alrighty. What did you learn? These are great photos. Everybody, your photos are great. What did you use from last lesson with these photos?
That one on the right.
Mm-hmm.
You helped me with that one.
And
And
what did you use here?
I got like closer with the camera to like focus on the one main thing that I was trying to take a photo of.
You made sure that, hey, of everything in this image, this is where I want you to look at. You had direction in your image. And you used something that I have not taught you guys yet, which is actually your aperture. You lowered down your aperture, you increase your aperture to a low value, so let's say 1.6 or whatever. This is why you get some blurring, so it isolates your subject as well.
I didn't even know I did that.
You see, that's sometimes in photography you'll do a lot of stuff that you might not even realize, and it's not until you really learn it, you're like, oh, I've been doing that for all this time, that it really just clicks. So there's talent in each one of you, and I know that by looking at your image. What about this one?
This one I try to like focus on the clouds.
Okay.
Like, you notice how it's like dark on the bottom?
Mm-hmm. You exposed for the clouds.
Yeah.
Good job. Another thing I saw you do was you not only did you expose for the clouds, but you also framed for the clouds as well. Which is why we have our landscape at the bottom here, taking up a little bit of space, but it's still there to give us reference. Alrighty.
I just took that one today, by the way.
Okay, well good. And then Mia.
That was cute.
Mine are this. After taking them, I did realize some flaws. Like in that one, my two little cousins on the side, you can barely see them.
Another one?
Uh-huh.
They're a little covered. This one, I got more on this side, and it's not really balanced, I guess. But
Wait, did you having a party or something?
yes, it was my cousin's 10th birthday.
Teach our wrong.
Like birthday for your cousin, I guess.
So, yes, you made some good points. But let me tell you what you did well. Let's talk about this photo here. I loved how you captured the moment of, obviously it's his birthday, but you also captured the father's reaction to his son. And so, remember when we talked about subtext and how that can also paint an image? Yes, you have a birthday party, but you also have his father right here is looking at his son. He's like, happy birthday, you know? It's a special moment. In terms of framing, you did well your framing because if we're going to draw a rule of thirds, doop, 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 just imagine that. His eye line is right here on the top rule of thirds, which means he has the correct amount of headroom so he doesn't look too short or too tall where he's cut off. And you also, I mean, it is in the center. It might not look that it's in the center because some of the other elements like this table here, but it's in the center. So good job. So back to our, and I don't know if you noticed this, but who was your harshest critic here? Who was your harshest critic here?
Ourselves?
Ourselves. Good job. You will also be your harshest critic, and that's a good and a bad thing. You need to learn how to manage that well. When you're exposing your work and presenting it to people, you want to first analyze the credibility of the critiquer. You know, is this someone like me who's had experience? Or is this someone just every day on the street, you know? Maybe they do have the experience. You know, being a critique of your own work is good, because it's going to cause you to keep on improving on your work. But at the same time, you also need to acknowledge places where you can improve and what you did well. And so that's why you guys, you're like, oh, I don't know about this. And you're like, I saw the best things about your image. You also need to remember that when you're taking your photos. All right, back to our lesson.
Jacob.
Well, that lows still. Okay. So did everyone understand this slide? I think the only thing I want to talk about is, so here we have some lights. These are different from your strobe here. This is on-camera strobe. So this one's a little bit smaller. It's actually about the same size. These ones are a little bit more like a football size. And you can put them on your C-stand. I was supposed to bring a C-stand, but I didn't have time today. And these are diffuser boxes, and we're gonna actually talk about those in a second. So, when and how to use this lighting? This is when you want to use artificial lighting. Lack of light, wanting a softer look, needing consistent lighting over time, and needing to illuminate specific areas. So, properties of light and how they affect your photos. Here are some common properties of light you should know about. So, first one is intensity and quality. Intensity refers to the amount of brightness from the source. Remember, brighter lights create sharper contrast in terms of shadows. Soft lights, lights that have diffusion in front of them, create more pleasant images and textures. But when you weaken the intensity and the reach of your light source. So that depends on the intensity of your diffusion. So an example, sunlight at noon is more intense than sunlight diffused on a cloudy day. So I want you guys to watch this video, and then we're going to answer the question.
A light without diffusion is typically a hard source. Softness is determined by the size of the light and its distance from the subject. A diffusion panel closer to the light still produces a hard source, but moving it closer to our subject, it becomes softer. We will now demonstrate this by moving our diffusion away from the light and closer to our model. When the diffusion panel is in front of the light, the panel becomes a light source. As the panel moves closer to the subject, it becomes a larger light source. Notice how the light becomes softer when we move it closer to action. Here's a side-by-side comparison showing no diffusion versus diffusion placed near our model. Here's a comparison of the same diffusion panel placed near the light and near our model.
Okay, so complete. So, now that we've watched the video, after watching the video, how can you implement the tips it gave in your everyday photography scenario? So if you don't understand completely, we're actually going to recreate what they did. I know, it's always like, what the heck? So, remember diffusion? We're actually going to talk about this later in the section, but this is a diffusion panel. So actually, I'm going to need two people, one as my model and the other person to hold up diffusion.
I'll hold it.
You want to hold it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Who wants to be the model? Eeny, meeny, there you go. So. And then, Leslie, can you just slightly turn the camera this way so that they can see? So, I want you to actually stand, Serena, I want you to stand right here.
Okay.
This board. And so, let Zoe, if you want to come over here. So, this is how we're going to use diffusion panels. So, this is a 5-1 reflector, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But when you're holding diffusion panels, you want to hold it up to your side like this. Alright, so let's say it's a dark day, maybe I didn't manage my time well, and golden hour's gone, and I need to put in a little bit of sun. This is my artificial light. Now this isn't a strobe, this is a continuous light source. A strobe is going to shoot light at a certain intensity for like a second or two, and then it's going to stop. This is continuous. So don't look at the light, okay?
I'm trying not to.
Well, no, Serena, you're fine. So
I thought you were talking to me.
let's take down our diffusion. So look, actually, Serena, can you slightly look at me? You're gonna be fine. So look at her face. I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna bring it back up. Don't worry, we're fine. Drop it, bring it back up. So this is diffusing. And now, Serena, I want you to close your eyes and do not open them, okay? Do not open them until I tell you so. We're gonna drop this diffusion. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. Look at the light. Look at the bright, look at the harsh shadows. Serena, kind of turn to your right. Right there. What about over there? Isabella, do you see harsh shadows over there? Now, let's put up the diffusion again. What about now? Might be some shadows.
Yeah, very light blue.
Yeah. So that's how diffusion, what I want you to do actually, Zoe, move the diffusion closer to Serena. Now I want you to pull it back and move it towards me. So remember how he was talking about that? Now we can actually visualize it. So we're going to be using this maybe a little bit more in the lesson. Or if not, I'll be breaking down some elements. Thank you so much. Everyone give him a round of applause.
Thanks, guys.
So does everyone understand? Serena, please don't mess with the camera. Does everyone understand how that works now? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so properties of light and how they affect your photo. Here are some common properties of light you should know about direction. And you actually just witnessed direction. Direction refers to a light source, how it's pointed, and how that affects your subject. Remember, beauty lighting, so that's front-facing lighting, creates a more pleasant lighting. Split lighting, also called side lighting, creates the most contrast.
Like from thriller movies.
Exactly, good job. Rim lighting, also called backlighting, highlights the outside of the subject, creating a subtle separation. And then raccoon lighting, top-down lighting, creates eye-like shadows on the subject's face. Now, out of everything in today's lesson, please try to remember these as best as you can. And the reason why, I'm going to tell you a quick little story. I was in one of my classes, and it turns out there's no photographer in this class. And the marketing professor starts asking photos, because we're asking about a certain product, and then we talked about the light. Maybe they should change it. These are the proper ways, and there's also other names that you will learn in the future. One thing that does not exist is bodybuilder lighting. Does anyone have an idea what that is? No, because that's not a thing. That's what he said. What he actually meant is it's a combination between rim lighting on both sides, also known as cross lighting. That's when, so look over here, this is rim lighting here. You would have another one here. Please try to remember the names of lights, because you will need to direct people on photo shoots. You will be on those photo shoots if they tell you, Zoe, I need you to give me a light setup for beauty lighting. You're gonna be like, what's that? Oh, you meant like social media lighting? You know? So try to remember the proper names.
They say makeup advertisements. I think they use that type of lighting.
They do. Good observation. So, now you know about these different types of lighting, which photos use the different directions of light that we've talked about? Which one do you think this one uses?
Beauty lighting.
Beauty lighting. Which one does the one right next to it use?
Split lighting.
Okay. What about the third one?
This is the right side.
Mm-hmm. This one is one image. I recently just said what it was, so was anyone paying attention?
Rim lighting.
Correct. Let me see what our time is. Okay. We might practice this as a part of our activity later, if we have time. So, properties of light, we're going to talk about color temperature. Color temperature refers to how cool or warm an image may appear and is measured in kelvins. Here are some common examples of color temperature. Candlelight is measured with a numerical value of 1800 kelvins. Midday lighting, so that's, well, it's the afternoon right now, so it's not midday, but next time it's midday, I want you to look around. It's going to look very neutral lighting. That's at 5500. Oh, I forgot. So, I'm wrong. There's kelvins, and then there's another one that starts with an L. Anyone have an idea? If not, it's okay. The L stands...
I'm freaking
Close. It's called lumens. They're different measurements. So, kelvins refers to the color temperature. Lumens refers to the amount of light on a face. Now, this is more cinematography, but when I want to create a shadow, I have this little device. I'll go up to like your face here, and I'll kind of hold it and it will compare and it will measure the amount of lumens on the face. So that's just a fun fact to know. So, and then blue light hour, 7,000 lumens or kelvins. I think I meant kelvins here instead of lumens. So, we have our little chart right here. So we have candlelight. The most common one, well then you got sunset, so that's at 2,500. You have tungsten at 3,000, moonlight, morning, evening, midday, blah, blah, blah. Why am I pointing out the numerical value for you? Why do you think that's important?
To give off like a different feeling based on the color temperature.
Good observation. Yes, it does help us measure. There's also a more integral way to use this. I want you guys to turn on your camera. Make sure to take off the lens hood.
So plug in, right?
Yeah.
R button.
Alrighty. So, next thing I want you to do is on your little dial window, we're going to just briefly experiment with this mode for just a second, and then we're going to go back to audio. I want you to switch from auto to the letter M. Does anyone want to guess what the letter M stands for?
Manual.
Correct. Right here, and then you want to keep on turning it to manual. Now, manual is going to give you a lot of control over your settings. We're actually going to talk about that, I believe, maybe not next lesson, but the lesson after that. So, it is a little harder, but you get more control, and control is good. So now, you're in manual. I want you guys to press the Q button right here on your little dial pad, a little Q button. I want you to press it. Press it once so you can see this. Now, yours might be a little different. I'll take a look at yours in a second. So, we see our settings here. Wait, it went away. Using the dial pad, I want you guys to navigate to the top right corner. Let me know if anybody has trouble getting to the top right corner. Okay, and when you're highlighted, I want you to click, actually before you click it, use the top dial here with your index finger. I want you, I took a photo. I want you to move it around and look what it does to your screen.
Oh,
Tell me what you guys see.
different.
You see.
Changes colors.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you keep on scrolling all the way to the right, you see something at the very end. Does it look familiar? Has a little letter K in it and has a number value. Keep on scrolling until you get to the end.
It says K.
K. So we got K, and it says the number value. Does it look a little bit familiar?
It's the properties of light.
Exactly. So, as you see, it's called white balance there. Now your camera in auto is going to be in auto white balance. So let's say I select it.
And then the grandmother drops.
Let's try one more time. Okay. I don't know why it won't let me modify it right now, which is fine. For time's sake, we won't get into that. But everyone saw as you were moving around how the color on your LCD changes, right? Now, why would that be important to know? We're in a tungsten lit room. Tungsten is at a Kelvin of 3,000. Let's say I want to get noonday, which was 5,500. I might need to change my white balance to get to it to combat for these light. Now pay attention about that. I'm asked a question about that later. Did everyone understand that? I know it's a little bit technical. Everyone? No? What questions do you have?
I'm confused on it all.
Okay, so I'll repeat it for you.
Sorry.
That's fine, that's fine. So, color temperature refers to how cool or warm the image was. Were you able to get to the step where you were able to change? So you saw it affecting it, okay? We measured the color temperature in a numerical value with the letter K. The letter K means Kelvin. We also went on a side quest about lumens. Let's just forget about the lumen part, that was a fun fact. Okay? So if we look over here, we have candle. If we look at our room right here, our ceiling lights, those are at a tungsten. And then let's say blue clear sky, maybe that's at blue hour. That's why we call it blue hour. Now, the reason why this is important to know is, let's say I'm exposing for Kenji here, and I'm taking a portrait of him. Maybe these lights are interfering with my photo. I'm getting this yellowish hint on there, maybe even a green, a magenta. Maybe it's a little bit cooler, maybe it's a little warmer in the room. I can compensate for that by changing manually the number. So let's say if it's really warm in here, 3000, I might want to go to the cooler end, so maybe a 7000 Kelvin. So it allows you to compensate for your lighting condition without having to bring in a bulky diffusion or light source. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome.
For a brother.
Okay. Now,
Valentine's Day theme style.
everyone, you guys are familiar with the T-chart?
We did black.
Compare the pros and the cons of natural versus artificial light. So, the advantages of natural light. So natural light is free. It is widely available and versatile. It also creates natural looking results, especially for outdoor portraits and landscape.
What does versatile mean?
Versatile means I can use it in a lot of scenarios. So wherever I go, because we have the sun, unless it's cloudy or something like that, I can take a picture or portrait of you right here in Fresno, or go to Madeira or LA or whatever, and it's gonna help. And it's free. Free's good.
We use that.
So, now let's talk about the advantages of artificial light. So, artificial light provides control over intensity, direction, and quality. Remember back to this photo here. With our artificial light, we were able to bring in our light and our subject, which we usually want to do with natural light. Now that's semi-true. And the reason why it's semi-true is while I might not have a light here, what I could do is use, while this is a diffusion, this is also called a 5-in-1 reflector. Take a look at the material here. You can pass this around. Feel around the material. It's a reflective material. It has a white bounce on there, fits the right model, and it has a silver and a gold. So let's say I'm there taking a photo and I need to add light and I don't have a flash. Well, I can go just like this, and I can bounce it up to her face. Now this sometimes works, yeah.
What difference does the gold and silver?
Good question. Let's actually show that right now.
I think the golden gives a more warmer look, and the silver gives probably more natural look.
You're semi-right. The reason why I say semi-right, can I have someone want to hold this light for me?
Also, I thought that was a
wanna hold
protective
it?
case
Okay.
for the diffuser.
Lights, action, camera.
Huh?
Lights, action, camera.
I know, lights, action, camera.
There you go.
That'll be the motto for the cinematography club. Alright, so we want to know, what does the reflector do? So what I want you to do is kind
Am I
of
right
hold this
about
right
the
here.
golden part?
I'm gonna hold it right here. So you are semi-right. The reason why semi-right is and we kind of want to bounce it like this. So our light source right now is this skylight. So we're kind of seeing it's bouncing. I want you to take it away. Take away this. Look how it kind of fills slightly. Now it might be a little bit hard to see, so that's why I brought this. Here we're gonna fill in Ket and G. So let's move it here just because I don't have a long enough cord.
Don't burn his eyes.
Ket and G, if you don't feel comfortable, you can close your eyes just in case. So put it and look how. So take it away. I'm gonna put it back. Look at that. So now I want you to flip it to the white side. Okay? Now look at that. Look at the color difference. So, when do you think you want to use the golden side?
For warm photos?
Yes. Let's say it's a, what do you call it? You want to see it again?
Yeah, this side.
We're going to put it, so that's without source. We're going to add in a little bit of source. Yeah, good pose. So, you might want to use the warm part. I like using that more as a backlight at the rim of my subject. I also like using that during sunset photos. Now there is a silver one. So the reason I call this a 5-in-1 reflector is because it has 5 sides. This counts as one. We have our gold side. We got our black side. Our black side is for negative fill. And we're not actually filling in anything with that. We're actually taking it away. And sometimes it's hard to see, so I won't demonstrate it right now. Yeah, so sometimes we don't want to always fill in a portion of.
Look how black absorbs light.
I'm sorry, say again?
Is it like how black absorbs light?
Yes. That is exactly correct. Good job. So. Uh-oh. Almost got stuck there. So now, I actually want you, let's fill in Kenji again. Can you hold it? So let's say, now I'm going to use the silver side. So this is him now. So you might actually need to, let's move that around so we can kind of, look at that. Like that. So look how, so let's say this is my son over here. And I might need to, so now I'll put this, and boom, now he's starting to fill in there. Now reflectors are, can you put that down for a sec? Thank you so much. Everyone give a hand for Mia. So, reflectors, they're very portable. They're a little bit troublesome to fold up, and it took me a long time to figure this one out, like that. You also got to be careful how you unleash it. Fun story, and please don't sue me. I was at Vintage Days. Everyone heard of Vintage Days of Fresno State? No? It's an awesome event. A lot of food. Think of it like a really big Fresno fair. And I was filming this, and I had this as diffusion. I mainly use this to diffuse light when I'm outside. And I popped it out, and I didn't see this person behind me, because sometimes this does not always pop out in the right way. You see how it popped out this way and it was like this? Well, it went like that. The lady was standing by me and go, right? And yeah.
I'm going to see you for that.
You weren't even there. So yeah, that's why, that's one of the issues. Also, as we saw, it's a little bit hard to hone in the light if you're not close enough. And also, depending on your source of light, how strong it is, you might not even have enough bounce to bounce it to your subject. Now, why do we bounce it? We know that it fills in, but what other thing do you think it might do?
Absorb light.
That's the black side. What do you think the white side in particular does?
Bounce off the light?
It does. It bounces off. So when light travels and it bounces off, its intensity decreases, and because of that, it actually becomes softer. So another way to achieve soft light is by bouncing it. So, now let's talk about the challenges for natural light. It's unpredictable and weather dependent.
The weather is indecisive.
Exactly. It requires an understanding of how to use golden hour, soft light during sunset and sunrise, and to avoid harsh MIDI light. Another challenge of artificial light is continuous light. So you need a lot of gear, you know, like this light I just brought. Flashes and strobes, they do short bursts, and unlike a continuous light, it might be a little bit hard to shape the lighting without having to shoot off your camera a bunch of times. And finally, modifiers. You need tools like softboxes, reflectors, and diffusers to help shape the light. So, individual lighting. I'm just gonna let you guys watch the video because I know we're running behind on time.
Setups, we often use something called three-point lighting. Three-point lighting can give you a pleasing, professional, and controlled look to your lighting. It all starts with the most important light, the main light, or key light. So that's one light. Next, we bring in a fill light to fill in shadows and reduce contrast. That's light number 2. Finally, we can bring in a backlight to help pop the subject out from the background just a bit. That's light 3. This is a classic 3-point lighting setup. Typically, each light is set to a different power. For example, the fill light is often set to a lower power than the key light. The backlight, which is there to add highlights to the hair, shoulders, and or the outline of the subject, will sometimes be set to a power higher than the key light. Now, if you bring in a background light, which can do a lot for the overall look of the scene, you're now working with a classic 4-light setup. There are many ways to use multiple lights, but the classic 3-point lighting setup is key, fill, and backlight.
Thank you, Mr. Animator. So.
That's not gonna lie.
So, this is a 3-point lighting setup, which is mostly used in portraits. Now, I'm not going to get into too much. I did want to get into it, but for time's sake, we're going to talk about that more in the next lesson. Any questions? If not, because we're actually going to be bringing in, I'm going to bring in my own 3-point lighting setup. You guys will get to experiment with it either next week or the week after. So keep that in mind. No. Here. Okay. So, natural light in portrait photography. So using natural light in portraits. A typical natural light portrait setup, here's some things that you should do. Position the subject facing a window for soft, even lighting. You can also avoid harsh shadows by diffusing the light with a sheer curtain or using open shade outdoors. You also use the sun as a rim light and then bounce the light to your subject's face, filling in shadows and softening light at the same time. So, which one is this tip?
Avoid.
Say that again?
Avoid.
Yes, we are avoiding light, but we're also using these curtains as diffusion. Now, it's a very thin diffusion, but it still works. How about this one? Position, correct. The light shining in through this glass window, and even though it does mess with the colors, it does kind of diffuse it. And what about this one?
It's using the sun as a rim light.
Exactly. Good job. So, creative lighting in long-term setup, creative lighting involves more practicals. You know, you can use a lamp, you can use a projector right here, or maybe you found something with a really weird object and you shine light through it to create shadows. It's an interesting way to basically spice up your image in an unconventional means. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, here's some questions I want to get through before we go. We're running only on time. So, here's a situation. Harsh lighting. So, your source creates strong shadows and highlights. What can you do to combat this?
Use the I don't know what it's called, but it does.
The 3-light setup? Yes, you can absolutely do that. This in particular, where we're kind of looking for, you can use a diffuser right here to filter the light, a reflector to bounce it, or you can change to a different light source to create a softer look. So, situation low light. Due to mismanagement of time, which I do a lot of times, golden hour is almost over and the light condition starts to dwindle. What can you do to combat this?
Moonlight.
Yes, you could try to use the moonlight, but depending on what the moon is, based on full moon, it might not be strong enough. Anybody else?
Using a flash?
Yes, you could use a flash. It might look a little bit spooky, but you can definitely use that. What else? Nope. You can bring in additional artificial light. We got that. You may need to use more than one for not just the subject, for your background as well, because your sun is already going away. You also combine this with better low light settings to compensate. And low light settings, we'll address that in another lesson. So then, okay, this one is not the situation for low light. This is for color temperature. Keep that in mind. So there are multiple interfering light sources in a corporate office during a headshot session. What can you do to combat this? I spoke heavily on this for about like 5-10 minutes. And Mia had me repeat it. The white balance?
Yes.
Yes, you can change your white balance to a different Kelvin to combat that. What else could you do? Hint.
Use a diffuse.
You can diffuse it, or you can use this to block it completely. See? I'm blocking it.
And use the black
Yes.
side.
And then you bring in your light source and you illuminate your subject like that. You can also increase the power of your light source, if it's an artificial one, to basically wash out those interfering light flares. Or you can minimize it in post, but that's always a risk. So in summary, so we understand the properties of light: intensity, direction, quality, and color temperature. Natural light and artificial light have their strengths, and knowing how to use both is key. Lighting can dramatically affect mood, focus, and overall image quality. So that's our slogan. What we capture next. Activity time. So here's your assignment for home. I want you guys to use what you've learned in lesson 3. Take pictures on your camera, and then by our next lesson, I want you guys to upload 2 to 3 photos on your slide. I'll make sure. Now, before you leave, I want to take a poll. I know we run late, and because of that, we haven't had time for our activity. Thinking of your guys' schedule, would you guys be open to potentially a longer meeting time overall, so that you could have more time to have activities, so that I can help you with those activities while you're here on the school site? So instead of maybe 2 to 3, maybe 2 to 3:30, or would it be better to start earlier or later? Earlier? Okay, so like 1:30? 1:30 to, no. What about 2 to 3:30? Yeah, we got yes. We got yes. Yes, yes, yes. Alrighty. So if we're all in agreement, that will be our new meeting time, so you guys have some more activity time. I do feel my communication professor told me you take too long, David. So, any questions before you guys go? Make sure you guys have your card reader. Make sure that's in your bag. What else? Make sure you guys don't leave your SD card. Make sure it's put back into your camera. We need to. Don't leave yet. So I need to assign you a camera. So we'll do that right after. Any other questions? Yes.
Right, is here, so
Yes.
we're
You're able to go. If your right is here, you can go.
Thank you so much.
All right.